We want to welcome Stephen Leonard back to our program. He's from the Golden Rain Foundation. Stephen, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Lots going on at the Golden Rain Foundation, especially this week. You guys installed some new members. You guys picked your new board of directors. Third and United also have elections going on. There's just a lot going on in the governance here in the village.
Yes. Which, it's the end of the year. We worked through the entire budget process. Mm-hmm. We've put out the new assessments. It's election season, as it is all the time for the mutuals and also for GRF. Mm-hmm. And wrapping things up and planning for next year. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of new things that'll be happening next year on the corporate levels and changes. So
right. So new directors are Allison Bach, Gary Durst. We got a list here that we can show folks if they want to take a look at that.
Right.
Officers are all installed. Are there still any openings on GRF?
Yeah, there's still one. I think it's going to be an appointed position from third, I believe.
Okay.
I think third has yet to be appointed. Several years ago, they made a change in the GRF board, so that Third, United, and Mutual 50, the towers, each got to appoint a representative.
Okay.
Because the towers had not previously had a director on GRF, mm-hmm. because they have their own private management company, but still there's the overlap.
Right.
That they still provide services to, like security, mm-hmm. and
mm-hmm.
The rest of the amenities. Mm-hmm. So that decision was made some time ago, and I am the appointed director for the Towers Mutual 50.
Oh, there we go. Now we know. We've got the new website. Have you had a chance to kind of peruse and go through it?
Yes, I've been in the village for about 12 years. Yeah. I used to be a director on United, so I know Chuck Holland very well. And at one point, Chuck called me up and said, "Ooh, we're rolling out the new website. I need you to get in there and beat up on it a little bit before we go live."
I've been hearing about it for quite some time,
yes.
And it's been a big project, and it is a massive overhaul when you kind of relaunch and redo a website, right?
Yeah. When VMS was created here, a new website was rolled out that Chuck had done, but it was kind of like, ooh, hurry up, get something done, and then, well, we need to have something better, mm-hmm. and it's just taken until now to be able to get that accomplished. But the search feature is the big one for me, because now you can go in and you can type Green Book, and you get mm-hmm. what you're looking for.
I was playing with it this morning, yeah. And I was looking up a couple things, and they gave you quite the variety of things to choose from in terms of, yes. Oh, you mean this, do you want this, do you want this? And so it was definitely a more robust, searchable system.
Yes, and it will improve as the system learns more about itself. Mm-hmm. It's kind mm-hmm. of an AI component to that, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to it. The community always needs better information. Mm-hmm. There's mm-hmm. so many outlets for it, whether it's TV6 or the Globe or whatever it is, and everyone has their choices, but hopefully this website is really going to improve things for the residents.
And now that it's out there and everybody has access to it, I'm sure there'll be a couple hiccups along the way, which are like anything that's new and launched, right?
There certainly is, because now you have a resident portal, mm-hmm. and then you have the website, and then they're going to have other portals for keeping things, excuse me.
Oh my gosh, that's the website probably calling you right now to tell you what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that, and I think it's going to serve the community well.
Oh, okay. So now a VMS resident satisfaction survey. I mentioned it just real quickly in my opening there, that people can take the survey through the 30th, but how important is it for people to kind of go on there and really give their input?
So one of the problems that any organization has is if they don't get feedback from their end users, they're kind of operating in the dark. Mm-hmm. And sometimes residents feel that people aren't listening to them. Mm-hmm. So trying to bridge that gap, they've come with this resident survey, and I guess you can pick up copies of it at the clubhouses.
Right.
I've seen it at the community center, whatever the case may be. But it's very important if people let VMS know, you're doing this really well, you're doing this okay, and maybe you could do this a little mm-hmm. bit better. Mm-hmm.
When the survey comes back, when you guys have an opportunity to take a look at that, what is the methodology that you use to kind of go, okay, here's what we see here, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do?
I couldn't say because I'm GRF,
well,
and that's VMS.
that's true.
So, but,
what's the feedback? I'm sorry. What's the feedback you get from VMS in terms of how they use that to improve, and what do they say about that?
Well, they're going to put it through their paces,
right?
And they'll develop a report, and they will put that forth to their board of directors,
right?
And the board of directors may make some suggestions to the CEO and the rest of the staff on maybe some ways that they could do things differently or additional things. Okay. To be determined.
To be determined. We'll get it figured. Enterprise resource planning. You're in phase 1 of this. So what you guys are calling the ERP.
Right.
And it is kind of this big integrated Microsoft system that really takes care of a lot of the technical and the maintenance and the accounting and those kinds of things, right?
Years ago, everyone was doing things in the field on triplicate paper. If you remember the old white, red, yellow, and then they started to go electronic. But the computer software that they had was different in different departments for different things. And the communications between those was not as fluid as things can be now. So the decision was made some years ago to make a major expenditure as an upgrade to that to get everybody more connected, to improve efficiencies, and work-related.
Right. So it's an integration kind of thing where I can go on there and see what they already doing in planning if I'm over in maintenance or whatever it might be and where things are.
Right. Yeah. Communications between the departments and men in the field and people in the offices and whatever, and a lot of it has to do with financial as well. I mean, we have so much going on a software basis in the community. I mean, we've got 730 employees. 18,000 people. There's a lot to keep track of.
And I guess within that, what are the feedback you're hearing? Is it working? Or are people happy with it? Is it something that yes, this is improving efficiencies? How is that being measured?
Well, they just basically launched it. I believe in September was their deadline to get it rolled out. And they don't have it entirely rolled out, but they have the majority of it. And my understanding is they'll be continuing to work on that throughout next year to tidy it all up and get all of the systems online and integrated. So, again, it's a work in process. It's not just something you turn on the switch and say, we're done,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things. And there's going to be a phase 2 and a phase 3 anticipated, it looks like. So it's something they're going to try to stick with and kind of implement all the way down the line.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very deep.
All right. People are watching us right now. They're probably watching us on our broadband system. Anybody's looking at this is seeing us, or they're streaming us, and that's also on the broadband system. If they want to go to YouTube, they're doing that. The broadband system here in the village is 25 years old. It was only done in the 90s, but by gosh, that is 25 years ago or so. And it is aging and kind of going on the outs.
Well, and also technology has changed.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, everybody who has a new phone, though, the technology doesn't last that long.
We used to watch TV over the air with antennas on TVs, and then cable came, and now we've got streaming. And that's all because of the internet and high-speed communications. Fortunately, we own our cable system. We all own all that infrastructure in the ground. And when that was put into place back in the 60s, they also put in a duplicate parallel pipe system. So one was being utilized and one was empty. So in going to the streaming, to fiber optics, high speed, we don't have to pull out the old system, go down, put in a new system. We can put the new system in parallel and then go to switch that on. But it's really going to be different. They've been working on it for quite a while. Some final decisions still have to be made. It's going to be expensive, and that's going to be one of the issues is how do we pay for that? But the alternatives were we can own it and we can run it. We can let somebody else own it and run it, or we can own it and let somebody run it with us as partners. So, and those are three different financial pictures
Right. I mean,
altogether.
outsourcing that, you don't get to have the oversight of the budget and what they're doing and how they're spending the money and how the rates go up and down. That's a very kind of scary alternative.
Well, all the communities that I know of in Southern California have exclusive contracts with a cable company.
Right.
I mean, if you live in Laguna Niguel, you're on Cox.
Right.
If you live someplace else, you might be on Spectrum. But you have no choice.
Right.
Unless you want to go to streaming over Wi-Fi or the internet, which some of the phone companies have tried to do. We're trying to retain our own system in-house and get up to that fiber optic where we can provide everything everyone needs, for the next 30, 40 years.
Right. And like I said, this one's lasted for 25 years, but it's aging, and there aren't parts to replace anymore. The manufacturers don't make those things anymore. So it is a matter of time. It's a kind of a ticking clock where it's just not going to work at some point, right?
Which is a fundamental concept, I mean, for the entire community, whether it's the cable system or it's backup generators for electricity or vehicles that we have. Things change, technologies change, things wear out. You maintain them for as long as you can until it gets to the point where you can't, and you say, time for new.
This is it. There's not enough duct tape in the world to keep this thing together anymore. I know we talk technology changes. Has there been talk about how we can future-proof this new system to really get the life out of it that we want?
Well, I guess you never know what's coming. I mean,
Right.
When cable came into effect, people weren't thinking about the internet. And when the internet came into effect, people weren't necessarily thinking about Wi-Fi, right? Everything was hardwired between computers, right?
Right.
You plugged it into the
and
wall.
that's the whole world of streaming and the robust nature of how much you need in terms of that connectivity.
Right. So all you can do at this point in time is put in the technology that you think is going to be sufficient for the longest period of time. I mean, 3 years from now, something else will come up that has twice the bandwidth of fiber optic, but we put something in. Will we need that in 30 years? Maybe, but if it's efficient, we're going up to very high speeds.
Right.
We're going to be much more robust than the system we have now.
So VMS has had some staff realignments. How does that affect Golden Rain Foundation? What's going on there? Have you kind of heard about what's going on, or?
Yes, I do attend some of the VMS open board meetings myself, and VMS is always striving to improve their delivery of services. Some of the changes that are going to happen in the work programs are between general services and the M&C committee. So there's going to be swaps of certain performing functions between those two. I'm hoping that it really does improve the purchasing situation so that we can get more bids from more people so that we can get better bang for our buck every time we go to do a project.
Sure.
Whatever that may be. And they're going to start implementing that as far as the first of the year, and I'm really looking forward to that. I know a lot of the other directors are as well.
Excellent. One of the things I know you guys had a big hand in is Clubhouse 1 and the renovations that went on there and the basic refurbishment of the entire facility. And people have had a chance to go through now. It's been open since September, and really kind of give it a run. How has the results been?
The results have been very good. There's always a couple of things that you miss along the way, and which you solve. They're not difficult or expensive, but the project was very intensive. It was more than they originally thought, especially in the showers and the bathrooms.
Well, anytime you open up the walls.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So some of the comments have been, well, it's a little loud because you have hard surfaces on the floor rather than the carpeting and whatever. But staff is already addressing that, and they're looking at ways of mitigating the sound reflection. But they're very minor things, and all in all, people are very happy with the end result.
Yeah, I did kind of a walkthrough about a month or so before it opened, and a lot of it was done and just looked amazing. And it kind of makes you say, well, what can we do for the other clubhouses? Have you guys been talking a little bit about that, about what might be next on the horizon?
Well, we did Clubhouse two
Right.
many years ago. And I've only been on the board here really since April, and I haven't decided to put my teeth into where are we going to go spend a lot of money next. But one of the things about these refurbishments is that residents say, oh, we pay so much in assessments. Well, this is a result of what you pay in assessments. The Golden Rain Foundation is a trust, and we're responsible for the maintenance and the overall operations of all of these common facilities, whether it's clubhouses or their golf courses or the equestrian center,
Right.
whatever they may be. And it takes money.
Right, and it's a service like anything. You're not paying the
Correct.
full, when you go play golf here. You're not paying the full actual price of what it costs to do golf, and the clubs and the ceramics and the painting. Those are all subsidized in a way.
Right, and that's been one of the things GRF has been looking at recently. As far as the fees go, we're trying to align the fees as best as we can for each one of the individual activities, as I say. But nobody is happy when they have to pay more. I mean, if you were paying $17 for a round of golf and it got raised to 18, you have 3,000 people who are unhappy. But that's 3,000 out of 18,000, so just saying. And again, we're working very diligently to do that, and we're very fortunate to have the finance department that we do at VMS. I mean, Steve Hormuth and Jose Campos and everyone else just does an excellent job. I mean, think about it. 4 corporations and collecting all the assessments and writing the checks and the payroll. It's
a heavy lift.
It is.
A change in policy allowed some folks here, residents in the village, to actually have work. I mean, just because you're in a retirement community doesn't mean you want to retire 100%, and there's some opportunities out there.
Right. I remember years ago, the gate ambassadors, rather than being paid, would be able to play golf for free. And then we put in the gates and whatever, and things changed. And everybody was restricted basically to only fulfilling a part-time job. And recently VMS has opened that up into full-time employment, partly because since COVID, it's been more difficult to fill positions. The competition for employees is very difficult across all disciplines, everywhere. So they did make that adjustment for certain positions to now be armed full-time rather than just part-time. One of the things that I heard after I got on the board was, well, now that you're on the board, you cannot apply for a full-time position for 5 years until you're off the board.
Well, there you go.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe I should have put in an application for a full-time position instead of being on the board.
One of the good things about that, I imagine, is in terms of being able to have an opportunity for a full-time position, is that you have a world of experience of people who've lived in the world of work and know how to be an employee, know how to do those things, and that part of the soft skills is already kind of embedded in a lot of people who live here.
Right, yes, precisely so. I mean, experience is always a good thing when you have younger people and you have to bring them up from ground up training. It takes more time, and then they advance and they get promoted, and then you have to fill those lower positions again.
Right.
So it's a revolving door kind of thing.
Another thing we want to talk about real quick is security. They're looking for part-time folks now these days. And
yes, exactly. And there again, it's a matter of being able to fill the positions.
Yeah. So retired police officers, retired folks in the security industry, they'd be kind of high on the list of people who they'd love to have.
Right. I mean, the gate ambassadors are part of security.
Right.
As is compliance. Security is a big department, and a lot of people don't know that. But yes, I noticed that recently, and of course they would prefer you have some law enforcement or some security service background for those positions to be a patrol officer.
I did a ride along. I don't think I qualified just yet, but think about it. The Clubhouse 7 light replacement. Tell us a little bit of what happened over there.
There are some issues over at Clubhouse 7. There have been for a while. All of the lights were not replaced many years ago and brought to the LED standard. So that's a project that we're reviewing right now and trying to get down to what do we need now. What may we need in a couple of years? The parking lot's already LED converted from many years ago. So now we're saying, well, does it need to be replaced again, or do we still have 3 or 4 years of service life out of the LED lights that we already have?
Okay.
So that's kind of one of the things that I pay particularly attention to, because I used to be chair of the Village Energy Task Force. So that's kind of my pet.
That's your ballywick right there.
Yeah.
Energy management system improvements. What are we talking about in that area?
So energy management systems are put into place to save money and to make systems more efficient. And we had invested a lot of money in energy management in previous years, but again, the technology has changed.
Right.
And so some of the clubhouses and the admin buildings are up to date as far as technology, some are not. So I believe there's $600,000 appropriated for next year to bring 3 or 4 clubhouses up to current technology. Again, want to look at it, make sure it's going to be money well spent, that there's a return on the investment that's going to make sense for the expenditure.
And speaking of return on investment, EV charging, the rates have gone up because just the fact that energy is a little more expensive and it costs more these days, right?
When we started with the charging behind the admin building, electricity was costing us 17.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Now it's 28.5 cents per kilowatt hour. And one of the things that I lobbied for was residents pay cost, non-residents pay more. And we've recently increased what the non-residents pay to make it more competitive with other retail and commercial operations, so that we can kind of keep ourselves, it's actually a profitable enterprise for us.
Right.
Ever since it's installed, we have always made some money doing the charging. It is not a subsidized or shared cost thing at all.
Okay. All right, we're going to, real quick, I want to go to the last slide. COVID, the tests are still out there. People still want to make sure they get those tests and make sure they're okay or not exposing other people, because this is a vulnerable community.
Right, and it's one of the reasons I put it on the list today, because I just found out about it a week or 2 ago, and I ordered mine, and I thought, here's an opportunity to everyone who's watching TV.
I've ordered those too, just like that little way, and I tell you, they come right in the mail. It's really
do.
simple and easy, and there you have them. No fuss, no muss.
Yep.
Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. Golden Rain Foundation update and a lot more. I appreciate it.